Let's explore the HTML code behind the example here. And what we'll do here is we will make the code visible along with the part of the web page. Okay, so we'll just be concerned with the actual form here. So essentially we've got all these text boxes. We click on the submit button to validate. Now you just need just in terms of working carefully here, if you notice what's happening here, once I put the cursor in a text box, the box goes purple. Okay, if I type something invalid in there, it's a number in any length, so this really should be a number text box. It's probably just set up as an ordinary text box, but that's okay anyway for the moment. Okay, so as long as I have an invalid input here, I get a message there. If I leave an invalid value in here and I move on to the next text box, you can see once we focus in here, once the cursor goes in here, this is invalid, so the box stays with a red background. Whereas if I put a valid number in there, you can see the box has gone green around the edge. Okay, so let's explore that style first. Okay, so I am applying these pseudo classes to our various text boxes here, and here's a pseudo class here. Okay, so and it's colon invalid, and this works in conjunction with the pattern property or attribute of our text boxes. Okay, so if the value of the text box is invalid, i.e. does match the pattern, we are going to put a border color of red. Okay, remember we've got full amount of red there, no green, no blue, so that is pure red, a maximum red. Let's call it that way. Could have just written red there, of course, instead of writing it in hexadecimal, but anyway. Okay, and how am I getting this kind of fuzzy boundary? I am using that there. Okay, so you can see red is there, the box shadow. Okay, 0 pixels means that the shadow isn't being cast in any particular direction. The shadow is sort of uniform around it. It's more of a blur than a shadow around the edge, and essentially the shadow extends out for 7 pixels. Okay, so if what I've typed in is invalid, we are going to get a red shadow for 7 pixels. Okay, however, if what I type in is valid, this style will apply, and this time you can see the green is appearing there. Okay, so 007 green, 007 red. Okay, so the shadow doesn't get bigger or smaller. What I'm doing here are our text boxes. Okay, so normally there is I'm applying some CSS transition here. So it takes a little while for these to kick in. Okay, if you don't mind, I'm going to leave that to one side because we'll be looking at advanced CSS later on. When we click into a text box, we find that the color goes purple. Okay, so we got maximum red mixing with maximum blue, that gives us purple, and again we have a 0, so the purple extends for the same amount of space as the red or the green for valid or invalid. Okay, the idea here is that this area here, this div here, or I think it's a div, when we get the valid pattern written in there, we can set the class to be complete. At the moment, the fourth is set to be incomplete. So this is a way for you to check as you get your regular expression patterns written out and tested, and you're happy enough to work, you can just change the class equals incomplete to class equals complete. Okay, so let's have a look at the first couple, and then off you go, essentially. So yeah, sorry, I should say the there's your task there. Okay, so complete the regular expression in each row in the table below. Use the test data to check if your regular expression works. You test by clicking on the button at the bottom of the table. Okay, now that it takes a long time to be scrolling up and down, so the best thing to do is to put in valid values on each text box as you work down, so that when you hit enter, if your entry is valid in terms of the pattern, the cursor will just move on to the next text box. Okay, when you get the regular expression working, you can change the background color appropriately just by going from incomplete to complete class. Okay, so the green cells in the first column have correct regular expressions. Okay, so the first three are correct, so let's actually go and look at them. Okay, so here's the first one, a number any length. Okay, so that matches him there. So there's a row per 3 cells per row. Okay, so this is actually the regular expression pattern. Okay, so because all of these text boxes are required, it means that basically you get an error message. Okay, so what is the pattern here for the first one? 0 to 9 square brackets plus. Okay, so 0 to 9 here means that we can only type in numbers. Okay, plus means we can have any number of numbers. And the square brackets basically delimit the type of valid characters. Okay, so that's the first one there. So the square bracket, the hyphen, the close square bracket, and the plus, these are the meta characters that I mentioned in the earlier video. Okay, 0 and 9. Okay, these are not just characters, they have a significance too, in that they mark the range. And even though 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are not mentioned in there, those numbers are actually in the range 0 to 9. Okay, so essentially every character in there is a meta character, because it is not just standing for itself, it's doing something else. Okay, so regular expression patterns are typically made up of these meta characters. So that's the first one. Okay, and we can see that works. Even though it's type equals text. Okay, we know that DFG is text. That should be allowed normally, but because I've got pattern, I am forcing that to be the case. Okay, so I have to type in any number of numbers. There we go. Okay, so that was the first one. Okay, the second one has got a valid value in there. Let's look at the code for the second one. Okay, there it is there. This time we want a 2-digit number, so we know that we can force a number by using 0 to 9 in square brackets, and then instead of a plus we just do curly bracket 2. Okay, so 2 characters, and if you put in 3 characters, it doesn't like that. Okay, and notice the title here in Chrome, the title comes up as part of the error message, like that. Okay, and similarly, if I only type 1, if I have 2 characters, one of which is not numeric, I get that error. So there we go, 26 is okay. Let's move on to number 3. A 2-digit number, the first one is greater than 5. Okay, first one's greater than 5. Just here's an example of HTML special character here. Okay, and what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to draw a greater than symbol, and we know that that has associations. That's a closing tag bracket as well. So I don't want it to be regarded as a tag bracket. Now this is complete overkill because it's a closing tag bracket, so it's not going to the browser is not going to regard it as the start of a tag. Okay, but when in general, if you have the opening, like if I wanted to write open tag bracket H1 close tag bracket, if I wanted to write that on the screen, I would make sure that instead of the open bracket I would put just what I'm typing there, less than. Okay, so if I just save that and refresh here, you can see I'm getting the less than symbol there. Okay, so that would work there instead of a tag bracket. Let's just save this again. And let's keep going. So let's put something in here. Number any length, 2-digit. First number has to be greater than 5 this time. Okay, so 34 won't work. 67 will work. Okay, so that's how we write that. Okay, 6 to 9 this time. Okay, rather than 0 to 9, and then the second digit can be any number whatsoever. Okay, so for the next one, which is number 4, a 5-digit number, whereas the first is greater than 7, the second or third are less than 4, and the fourth is between 3 and 7. Okay, so you might like to have a think about that. Okay, and just to let you know, there are 2 ways to do that part. Okay, so the fourth one is one for you to do yourself regarding to number regular expressions. Number 5 deals with alphabetic characters. Okay, and we sort of alluded to this in the first video. We use A to Z and A to Z capital letters. So that's how we can do that. And it doesn't matter what order you put this. If you put the small letters after the capital letters, that won't matter. Okay, so this means any number of characters as long as they're all alphabetic. Okay, that's what that means. I just want to return to number 4 because number 4, what I'm doing in the middle cell there is I'm showing you examples of valid data. So you could use those to test when you come up with the pattern yourself. Okay, so you're just going to add something in there, and what you should do as well is put in a valid message there for the title. Okay, and the idea ultimately will be that this page becomes a reference, and then you can sort of pick and choose patterns here for your CA2 and later on. Okay, and these regular expressions will also be useful in Java, PHP, and other programming languages. Okay, so number 5, you might like to think then about number 6. 2 lowercase letters between A to M, followed by 2 uppercase letters between A to M. There are a couple of different ways to do that. Okay, so alphanumeric string, it can be alphabetic. Each character can be either alphabetic or between 0 and 9. So have a go at those. Okay, just work through steadily, and they do get more difficult as time go on. But don't move on to an unknown one unless you understand the known ones. Okay, and do look at the links as well to try and explain a bit more. Okay, so working with text, the text wants to start with something or end with something. Do have a look at those ones. Dollar and the caret symbol become important there. Okay, and what about if you may or may not have some text? You can use that sort of symbolism there. So have a good look at the ones that work there. UK postcode, that's in their air code. These are very complicated. They should work. Okay, and you can have a go maybe at the time ones yourself. Okay, so enjoy it.